Before one seeks to build a grand house, the foundation must be strong. The same is true for the human being. Many chase after wealth, influence, and recognition, but they do so with an unstable heart and a restless mind. This is like drawing water from a well that is dry, exhausting, fruitless, and disappointing. The inner world is where your thoughts live, where your emotions take root, and where your perception shapes the outer reality. If you do not first bring order within, then everything you build outside will eventually collapse under the weight of inner chaos. To master the inner world, one must first become aware of it. Most people are like leaves in the wind, constantly moved by every passing thought, every emotional disturbance. They react more than they respond. This is not mastery, it is slavery. True inner mastery begins with observation. When you can sit quietly and observe your own thoughts without being dragged by them, you begin to take the first step towards self-possession. This is not passive, it is the most active kind of awareness, the kind that requires strength and vigilance. Emotions are like waves, they rise, they fall, they crash. But you are not the wave, you are the ocean. When you forget this, you become lost in every rise and fall. You speak in anger, you act in fear, and then you wonder why your outer world is full of conflict. Mastering the inner world means recognizing the space between impulse and action. In that space lies freedom. In that space, you decide not just what you will do, but who you will be. Many think wealth is made only through strategy and opportunity. But the wealth that lasts, the wealth that brings peace, is born from inner clarity. A person who cannot govern his mind will not govern his money, nor his relationships, nor his destiny. He will earn and he will lose. He will gain and he will fall. But the one who sees himself clearly can walk any path with purpose. His wealth is not just in his hands, it is in his breath, his steps, and his way of being. To cultivate the inner world is like tending a garden. You must remove the weeds, doubt, envy, restlessness, and water the soil with patience and presence. It is daily work. No one else can do it for you. You may read books, listen to teachings, and seek guidance, but if you do not sit with yourself, you will remain a stranger to your own life. Inner mastery is not a concept. It is a practice, one that unfolds over years, silently and invisibly, until its effects are impossible to ignore. Silence becomes a teacher. Stillness becomes strength. When the mind is no longer cluttered with noise, a natural wisdom arises. This wisdom does not scream, it whispers. It does not demand attention, it simply knows. From this knowing, decisions are made with peace, actions are taken without regret, and success becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. The wealth you build from this state carries a different quality. It feels lighter, freer, more aligned. Some fear that turning inward will make them weak, too soft, too disconnected from the world. But this is a misunderstanding. The one who knows himself deeply can stand firm in any storm. He does not break, he bends. He does not run, he remains. Inner mastery gives rise to outer resilience. You do not become less, you become more. More focused, more deliberate, more alive. In a world of reaction, you become response. When the inner world is steady, everything changes. You begin to see people not as threats, but as reflections. You see challenges not as punishments, but as invitations to grow. Your relationship with time softens. Your relationship with yourself deepens. And the energy you used to waste chasing everything outside of you, you now invest into building the quiet power within. You said discipline over desire, expend it in 8 paragraphs, and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Discipline over desire, desire is loud. It calls from every direction, promising comfort, pleasure, recognition. It speaks with urgency, now, now, now. But discipline is quiet. It does not shout, it does not seduce. It waits in stillness and strength. Where desire seeks immediate satisfaction, discipline chooses long-term alignment. One is a spark that burns quickly. The other is a flame that endures through the night. Every moment, there is a choice between what feels good now and what serves you deeply later. This choice may seem small, but it is the path of your life unfolding. Desire says, skip the practice, just this once. Discipline replies, keep going because you said you would. These voices live in everyone, but the one that wins is the one you feed with your actions. Each decision is a vote for the future you are building. Many believe that following desire is freedom, but freedom without structure becomes chaos. A river without banks becomes a flood. Discipline is the structure that allows your energy to flow purposefully. It may feel like restriction at first, but over time it becomes liberation. You stop being dragged by emotions and start walking with intention. You no longer ask, what do I feel like doing? But rather, what needs to be done? Desire is a teacher of temptation. It teaches how easily the mind is distracted, how quickly it seeks comfort. But discipline is the teacher of mastery. It teaches endurance, focus, and the strength to remain steady in the face of inner storms. Discipline reveals your deeper power, not the ability to control the world, but to command yourself, to act not from craving, but from clarity. There is a misunderstanding that discipline is harsh, that it removes joy and pleasure from life. But this is only true when discipline is forced upon you. When it is chosen with awareness, discipline becomes devotion. It becomes a way of honoring your path, your time, your potential. You do not train every day because it is easy. You train because you remember who you are without the training scattered, reactive, easily shaken. The body understands discipline through repetition. The mind understands it through awareness. Together, they create harmony. A disciplined body moves without resistance. A disciplined mind no longer chases every distraction. Life becomes lighter, not heavier, and slowly, what once required effort becomes natural. This is the transformation from discipline as a struggle to discipline as a state of being. Desire will always be there. It is part of human nature, but it is not meant to lead. It is meant to be observed, understood, and placed in its proper place. When desire leads, it blinds. When discipline leads, desire finds its balance. You still feel hunger, but you choose when and how to feed it. You still want rest, but you know when to rise. You stop being ruled by the urge of the moment and start living by the rhythm of your purpose. To place discipline over desire is to respect your own future. It is to say no to what is easy so that you may say yes to what is meaningful. It is to recognize that the path to peace is often built with discomfort, but never with regret. It is to walk forward with awareness, while the world pulls sideways with noise. Discipline is the hand that holds you steady as you walk through the fire of your own becoming. You said, wealth is energy, not possession. Expendite D in 8 paragraph and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Wealth is energy, not possession. Most people see wealth as something you can hold: coins, houses, titles, status. But this is only the outer form. True wealth is not what you own, but what you radiate. It is not measured by how much you keep, but by how much you generate and sustain. Wealth is energy moving, flowing, responding. When it becomes stagnant, it becomes a burden. When it moves with purpose, it becomes a force that uplifts your life and the lives of others. Energy is present in every decision, every action, every word. Some people have very little in material terms but are rich in presence, joy, and generosity. Others have abundance in possessions but feel empty, anxious, always grasping for more. This shows that wealth cannot be stored in a bank alone. It lives in your state of being, how you think, how you serve, how you live. When your internal energy is rich, even small resources are multiplied with wisdom. A person who sees wealth as energy understands the importance of flow. They give without fear because they trust in replenishment. They invest their time and focus wisely, knowing that these are currencies more valuable than gold. They do not hoard because they have learned that nothing physical is permanent. Everything decays, everything changes. What remains is how you used your energy while it was in your hands. To align with the energy of wealth, you must first examine your relationship with giving and receiving. Many want to receive without offering. Others give until they are drained. Both are imbalanced. Wealth is a cycle: inhale and exhale, expansion and contraction. To be in harmony with this cycle, one must give from fullness, not from depletion. And one must receive with humility, not with entitlement. This balance keeps the energy alive. Fear blocks the energy of wealth. When you act from scarcity, whether with money, attention, or effort, you close the gate through which abundance flows. You begin to grip tightly, and in doing so, you lose flexibility. You become more focused on keeping than on creating. But wealth grows in openness. It multiplies in generosity. It follows those who move with intention, not those who stand still in fear of losing. There is also wealth in knowledge, in health, in silence. These forms of wealth are often ignored because they are not displayed, but they are deeply felt. A peaceful mind is wealth. A body that moves freely is wealth. A heart that can forgive is wealth. These cannot be taken from you by market shifts or external loss. They are built by practice and sustained through awareness. To recognize them is to awaken to a deeper kind of prosperity. The energy of wealth is supported by alignment. When your values and actions move together, you become a vessel for growth, not only for yourself, but for others. Your work becomes more than survival, it becomes service. Your earnings carry meaning, not just weight. You no longer need to impress, you begin to express. This shift turns daily life into a practice of sacred exchange, not a cycle of endless accumulation. You cannot chase this kind of wealth. It is not found in what you pursue, but in what you embody. When you cultivate gratitude, discipline, clarity, and generosity, you become magnetic to abundance in many forms, not because you demand it, but because you are ready to receive and transmit it. You stop measuring your success by what you can show and start measuring it by what you can share. You said, happiness is stillness in motion. Expendite in 8 paragraph and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Happiness is stillness in motion. Many search for happiness as if it is a destination, a place where problems disappear and everything becomes effortless. They imagine stillness as sitting in quiet, far removed from the demands of daily life. But real stillness does not mean the absence of movement. It is the presence of peace within movement. True happiness is not found by escaping life, but by being fully grounded within it while it moves and shifts around you. Stillness in motion is the ability to act without being disturbed inside. It is the calm center of a spinning wheel. The outside moves quickly, but the center remains unmoved. In daily life, tasks come, people speak, events unfold, but the one who knows stillness in motion does not lose their inner clarity. Their mind remains like a still pond, even as the winds of life pass over the surface. This is not numbness, it is depth. To reach this inner stillness, one must practice presence. Most unhappiness comes from being divided. The body is here, but the mind is elsewhere. The hands work, but the heart is restless. Stillness in motion begins when thought, action, and breath unite in the same place in the same moment. Even the most ordinary action, sweeping the floor, walking a hallway, preparing a meal, becomes peaceful when done with full attention. Happiness is not loud. It does not always come with excitement or laughter. Sometimes it feels like a soft silence, a subtle feeling that all is well, even if things are not perfect. When you carry this feeling inside, you stop chasing distractions. You stop seeking escape. You become available to life as it is, and this acceptance opens the door to peace, not because everything is under control, but because you are no longer controlled by everything. Stillness in motion is not taught by words, but by rhythm. The rhythm of breathing deeply, moving deliberately, speaking with awareness. When you are in rhythm with yourself, the chaos outside loses its power. You do not resist life's flow, but you also do not drown in it. You move with grace, like water flowing around stone. This grace is the expression of inner happiness, not forced, not performed, but natural. Some think happiness is the result of achieving all their goals, but happiness born from reaching is always followed by more reaching. Stillness in motion teaches that happiness is not something you get after effort. It is something you bring into the effort itself, whether walking, training, working, or resting. If the mind is clear and the heart is open, then happiness is already there. It moves with you. Challenges will come. Stillness does not remove them. It gives you the strength to face them without being broken. It allows you to feel deeply, but not be consumed, to act wisely, but not from panic. This ability to remain steady amid the changing seasons of life is what allows joy to root deeply. It is not the shallow joy of comfort, but the strong joy of understanding and presence. You can find stillness in the breath between movements, in the pause before a response, in the awareness beneath your steps. When this stillness becomes familiar, you carry it with you like a flame, not to burn, but to illuminate. Others may not see it, but they will feel it. And in your movement there will be peace. In your speech there will be space. And in your presence there will be happiness without reason, you said. Gratitude is the gatekeeper of abundance. Expendi, in 8 paragraph, and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Gratitude is the gatekeeper of abundance. Before abundance can be received, it must be recognized. And nothing sharpens recognition more than gratitude. Gratitude is the doorway through which abundance enters, not because it changes what you have, but because it changes how you see. Many look at their lives and see only lack. They compare, they complain, they count what is missing. But gratitude teaches the eyes to see what is already full, already beautiful, already enough. Gratitude does not depend on having more. It depends on seeing deeper. A single breath, when noticed with awareness, becomes a miracle. A quiet moment, when received with presence, becomes sacred. Gratitude brings attention inward. It turns away from the restless search for something else and directs the gaze to what is already here. In this way, it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary without changing anything except the mind. Abundance is not only material. It is also the richness of emotion, the wealth of connection, the depth of silence. A grateful person can feel joy in the simplicity of a shared smile or a warm sunbeam on the skin. Gratitude makes you more alive to the present, and in doing so, it expands your capacity to receive. Without this openness, even great fortune will pass unnoticed. But with gratitude, even little becomes vast. Gratitude humbles the ego. The ego says, I earned this. Gratitude says, I have been gifted this moment. This shift dissolves arrogance and replaces it with reverence. And in reverence, we become aligned with something greater than ourselves, the rhythm of life, the intelligence of existence. From this alignment, abundance flows more freely. because we are no longer grasping or resisting. We are simply allowing. To practice gratitude is to tune the inner world to a higher frequency. It lifts the spirit from complaint to celebration, from anxiety to appreciation. Even in difficulty, gratitude can be found not in denying pain, but in recognizing strength, growth, and the unseen support that carries us forward. It does not erase suffering, but it offers a light within it. And this light is often enough to keep moving with dignity. Gratitude is a daily discipline. It must be cultivated like a seed watered with reflection, nourished with attention. Some days it grows easily, other days it hides beneath the surface. But even on difficult days, a small act of noticing can awaken it. A deep breath, a kind word, a memory of warmth, these are the sparks that keep gratitude alive, even when the sky is dark. When a person lives with gratitude, their energy changes. They become generous not because they have excess, but because they feel abundance within. Their presence uplifts others not through effort, but through quiet contentment. Gratitude removes the need to prove, to compete, to constantly achieve. Instead, it invites you to serve, to share, to move through life as one who already has enough to give. Without gratitude, abundance becomes invisible. You may hold riches and still feel poor. You may gather more but never feel full. Gratitude unlocks the ability to enjoy, to savor, to truly receive. It does not just open the hand to hold, it opens the heart to receive. And in that receiving, life begins to reveal its richness, not in flashes or distant dreams, but in the stillness of the moment that is here. Now you said, train the mind like the body, expend IT in 8 paragraphs and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Train the mind like the body responds to discipline, structure, and repetition. With consistent training, it becomes stronger, more flexible, more resilient. The mind is no different. It, too, must be trained not only with knowledge, but with attention, stillness, and challenge. Just as a weak body cannot carry heavy loads, an untrained mind collapses under pressure. Strength of mind is not given by nature, it is developed through practice. Many neglect the training of the mind because its weakness is not as visible. But its effects are everywhere, in anxiety that controls decisions, in anger that poisons speech, in distraction that steals time. The mind left unattended becomes like an untamed animal, reacting, running, resisting. To train the mind is to give it a direction, to teach it stillness, to demand clarity where there was once confusion. Mental training does not mean suppressing thoughts. It means observing them without being enslaved by them. Just as in physical training, pain must be faced, in mental training, discomfort must be met. The restless urge to avoid, the impatience for results, the craving for distraction, these are the weights the mind must learn to lift, not by force, but by presence, by learning to sit, to stay, to breathe through what arises. Discipline of the body begins with form. Discipline of the mind begins with awareness. Without awareness, there is no direction, only repetition of old habits. Meditation, focused breathing, deep reflection, these are exercises that build mental muscle. Each time you return to the present, despite temptation to drift, you strengthen the part of you that chooses rather than reacts. Training the body requires recovery. Training the mind requires stillness. Without moments of silence, the mind becomes overstimulated, overworked, and disorganized. Stillness is not laziness, it is alignment. It is the quiet place where thoughts settle and priorities become clear. When the mind is rested through mindful silence, it becomes sharper in action, calmer in chaos, and more compassionate in conflict. The trained mind sees patterns. It watches emotions rise without becoming them. It understands when to act and when to wait. Like the body that knows when to strike and when to retreat, the mind learns precision. No wasted words, no unnecessary reactions. This economy of thought is not emptiness, it is efficiency. A refined mind cuts through confusion like a blade through fog. In the same way, a strong body can protect, serve, and endure. A strong mind becomes a refuge for yourself and for others. It gives you the power to hold space for discomfort, to remain unmoved in criticism, and to respond to difficulty with wisdom. This strength is not aggressive, but rooted. It is not loud, but undeniable. It comes not from knowing everything, but from being able to face anything. Those who train only the body may move powerfully, but without mental discipline, they are easily thrown off balance. Those who train only the intellect may know many things, but without emotional discipline, they are trapped in restlessness. To train the mind like the body is to bring harmony between thought and movement, between silence and expression, between inner control and outer action.